So I've had a couple of people ask me, what does RESTS actually stand for? Well, I'm going to break it down into each category, RESTS, and I'll explain exactly what that means for camping or going on a trip and the equipment that you need. So let's get going. So the first letter in RESTS is obviously R. R stands for rope / cordage. So I'll give you a couple of quick examples. Paracord, that's an easy one, isn't it? Yeah, fishing line. Fishing line. Depends on where you are and of course what you're doing. Sewing kit. Usually that is a big one for all kids for repairing your equipment, your bag, your swag, your bedding, whatever else that you need to repair. And also duct tape, that's a big one. And you can have just one of these or you can have all of them, so, or a combination of whatever you need. It always depends on your circumstances, where you're going and what you're doing. So that's R, rope or cordage. Okay, the next one is E. E stands for eat / drink. Now, it's not just food or drink, it also covers anything that is associated with eating or drinking. So for example, it would be cooking pan, cup, canteen, whatever rations you have, utensils, could be a billy if you're using a billy. So cooking pan, cup, canteen, rations, utensils and billy. Eat and drink, what also falls into this category is matches, lighter, stove, ferro rod, and associates. So again, list is not exhaustive, you can add to it if you need to. One thing I did forget, which is also quite an important one, is water purification. Could be in the form of tablets, filter, or all of the above. But again, this stands for eat or drink, and again, choose the ones that you need. You might need all of them, you might only need one or two of them. Okay, moving on. Now the next one is S. S stands for shelter. So it's the first S in RESTS, shelter. Examples of shelter would be poncho, blanket, or sleeping bag. Usually one or the other. Tarp also falls into shelter. Another thing that also falls into excuse me, that falls into shelter, so poncho, sleeping bag, blanket, tarp. You could be taking swag with you. You could be taking a tent with you, ultralight tent. You could be taking a hammock. So all these things fall into S for shelter. So again, you take a few, or you could only take one or two, or you could take all of them. Totally your decision. Okay, moving on. T stands for transport / travel. Now this particular category is a pretty big category on the scale of things, because your transport, it covers map, it covers compass, it covers torch or headlamp, it covers bandana or very bright coloured clothing so you can be seen quite easily, glow sticks, that's always a pretty obvious one, covers a whistle, mirror. So there's quite a large variety of things that transport or travel covers, because for example, if you are stranded and you require assistance, or you're lost in the bush, or you're trying to signal someone to assist you in moving with your area, i.e. rescue or the like, then that falls under the travel area. And obviously the transport area would be your map, your compass are your two basics, they're your staples. Your torch and your headlamp is for movement and tasks during the day or night. And of course, a bandana you can use for a variety of things, and it also includes signaling depending on the colour. With the bandanas, I'll usually take a nice bright red one or a nice bright orange one, depending on where I'm going. If I'm going into a darker terrain or something like that, I always try and opt for the lighter colours because they're easier to be seen. So that is your transport or your travel. Again, this list is not exhaustive. There's a lot of other things that people can think of and add to, but these are all just your basics. So, but as a minimum, me personally, I would take all 7 of these in my kit when I'm going out. Moving on. Finally, this is the final S. The second S in rests. It stands for sharps. So your sharps would include knife. It would include axe or hatchet. It would include a saw. My preference with the saw is a foldable saw, but everybody has their own preference with that. It would also include things like tweezers, it's not necessarily a sharp, but it does fall in the sharps category. Tent pegs, because I sharpen my tent pegs personally before I use them, so they're easy to use, easier to get into the ground, and things like that. Some people take, for example, some people take in their kit scalpels, some people take razor blades, some people decide to take auger drills with them, or auger drill bits. So again, can be customed to what you need. It's not a minimum, I've only got knife, axe, hatchet, saw, tweezers on there, but you could take multi-tool with you. You could take a Swiss Army knife. So again, a lot of variations. You don't have to take them all. Me personally, I will take a knife with me, always. I will always take a foldable saw with me. I'll always take tweezers with me. Generally, if I'm taking my Swiss Army knife, I don't take tweezers because Swiss Army knives have got tweezers in them. I won't take a scalpel with me. I do take razor blades with me in my emergency kit. So a lot of different variations, a lot of examples that people use. So you just need to make sure that you customize it to your personal needs. Every scenario is different, every location is different, every area is different. Now, nothing on this list covers clothing at all. However, clothing does fall into one particular category. It falls into the shelters category because your clothing is your first line of shelter. So you need to make sure you've got appropriate clothing for the climate. Remember, if you've only got a limited amount of stuff, it is easy to remove layers to cool your body down, but if you don't have them, you can't add layers to protect yourself from the cold. So that's the list that I have of acronyms that apply to the word rests. I was asked a few times by people, what does rests actually mean, when I showed my basic personal kit, and now I've gone through and explained it. So that's exactly what rest stands for. Rope or cordage, eat and drink, shelters, transport or travel, and of course sharps. If you have any questions or any queries, happy to answer them. You can flick me an email at urban1survival@gmail.com, or of course you can find us on Facebook, Urban One Survival.